She thought he was just a drifter, until he returned, as her boss, with a lesson she'd never forget. The scorching sun blazed down on the cracked asphalt of a dealership lot in Stockton, California. Rows of cars glistened under the relentless heat, their glossy exteriors hiding the crumbling finances beneath. Inside the cramped office, Alana Hensley tugged at the collar of her sharp blazer. At 38, she was determined, sharp-eyed, and brought in as the dealership's last hope. A no-nonsense leader, she wasn't here to make friends. The place was bleeding money, and Alana had no intention of letting her career go down with it. She'd already tightened policies, enforced strict sales quotas, and cut back on the casual attitudes that let customers browse without buying. Her mission today? Clear the lot of distractions, starting with the so-called loiterers. Looking out the window, Alana's sharp eyes locked on an older man. He was wandering slowly, his faded denim jacket and scuffed boots making him stick out like a sore thumb amidst the polished cars. Her jaw tightened. "Who does he think he is?" she muttered. This wasn't her first run-in with someone like him, just another drifter wasting time. Without hesitation, she grabbed her sunglasses and stormed outside, her heels striking the pavement with purpose. "Excuse me," she called sharply, her voice slicing through the heavy afternoon air. The man turned, his weathered face framed by silver hair. He smiled faintly, but said nothing. "Can I help you with something? We don't allow browsing unless you're planning to make a purchase," Alana stated, her tone firm and rehearsed. The man tilted his head, his expression almost amused. "Just looking," he replied, his deep voice calm. "Well, this isn't a museum," she snapped. "If you're not buying, I'll have to ask you to leave." For a moment the man stood there, studying her with eyes that felt far too knowing. Then without a word, he turned and walked away, his boots crunching softly on the gravel. Alana watched him go, a sense of satisfaction washing over her. One less distraction, she thought, brushing her hands off. But she had no idea. This was far from the last she'd see of him. The next morning, Alana walked into the dealership brimming with confidence. She'd spent the evening refining strategies, determined to be the dealership's savior. But beneath her focus, there was a faint unease, a lingering memory of the older man. Shaking off the thought, she dove into her day, barking orders, fine-tuning price tags, and chastising employees for not closing deals. "We can't afford to lose sales," she snapped at a junior employee. Midway through her rounds, Alana noticed a small crowd forming near the lot's entrance. Curious and annoyed, she headed outside. There he was again, the older man. This time, he wasn't alone. Two sharply dressed individuals stood beside him, a woman in a tailored navy suit and a man with a clipboard. Their presence exuded authority, drawing curious glances from staff and customers alike. The older man, however, seemed unchanged, calm, collected, but now assessing the scene with sharper eyes. Alana's stomach twisted. She didn't like surprises, and this one had all the wrong energy. Masking her unease, she strode forward, her heels clicking purposefully. "Excuse me," she said, her voice polite but clipped. "Can I help you?" The woman in the suit turned to her, offering a tight-lipped professional smile. "We're here for a property review," she replied. "I'm sure Mr. Eastwood can explain the rest." Alana froze. The name didn't immediately click. Then the older man stepped forward, his calm demeanor now tinged with unmistakable authority. "I believe we met yesterday," he said, his voice measured but tinged with amusement. "I'm Clint Eastwood, and this lot, well, it belongs to me now." For a moment, Alana stood frozen, her mind racing to process the revelation. Clint Eastwood. The name finally clicked, hitting her like a ton of bricks. Her carefully crafted composure cracked. Wait. You're the new owner?" she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's right," Clint replied, his tone steady and eyes locked onto hers. In that moment, Alana realized just how much power he wielded and how badly she'd misjudged him. The air grew heavier as the weight of her mistake sank in. The man standing before her wasn't some aimless wanderer or drifter killing time. He was Clint Eastwood, a living legend. And now, her boss. Her throat tightened as yesterday's interaction replayed in her mind. The sharp words, the dismissive tone, every second of it came rushing back with a sting. But Clint didn't seem angry. If anything, There was a faint glimmer of amusement in his eyes, a look of someone who had seen more in life than most and didn't need to raise his voice to command respect. I didn't know, Alana finally managed, her voice faltering. If I'd known who you were, would it have made a difference? Clint interrupted, his voice even but sharp enough to cut through her excuse. Her mouth opened, then quickly closed. He was right, and she knew it. Judging people by appearances had been second nature to her, a habit she'd never questioned until now. The executives standing nearby exchanged subtle glances, their expressions unreadable, but the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, the woman in the navy suit broke the silence. Mr. Eastwood visited unannounced yesterday to see how things are really run here, she said, her tone professional yet pointed. He believes it's the best way to assess a business's true character. The words hit Alana like a slap. Clint hadn't been wandering aimlessly. He'd been observing, watching her every move, and she'd failed his unspoken test in the worst way possible. I was only trying to, Alana began, but Clint held up a hand, silencing her. I'm not interested in excuses, he said firmly. I care about how people are treated here, customers, staff, everyone. Respect doesn't cost a dime, but it's worth everything. Remember that. Alana's face burned with shame as his words settled in. Around her, the employees were silent, their gazes heavy with judgment, or pity. But Clint wasn't finished. Taking a step forward, his calm presence carried more authority than any raised voice ever could. Alana felt the weight of every pair of eyes on her, employees, executives, and Clint himself, all waiting to see what would happen next. I've been around long enough to know this, Clint began, his voice steady but purposeful. How you treat people matters more than the numbers on a spreadsheet. This dealership isn't just about selling cars. It's about building trust and creating an environment where people feel valued, whether they're buying or just looking. Alana's gaze shifted to the sales team gathered near the entrance. Some avoided her eyes, while others looked on with quiet judgment. She had prided herself on being tough, no nonsense, the one to whip this failing dealership into shape. But now, under Clint's scrutiny, her approach felt cold, transactional. Had she missed the point entirely? Clint addressed the group, his voice carrying across the lot. Yesterday, I walked this lot, looked at these cars, and watched how things operate here. And what I saw told me more about this place than any quarterly report ever could. I saw fear. I saw people too worried about making a mistake to feel proud of what they do. His words cut deep, not just for Alana but for the entire staff. A nervous murmur rippled through the group. Clint's eyes returned to Alana, sharp but not unkind. When leadership is about intimidation, it trickles down. Customers feel it, employees feel it, and no business survives on fear. Alana's shoulders sagged, the weight of his words pressing down on her. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that her tough approach was born of desperation to save the dealership. But deep down, she knew Clint was right. She had let fear become her strategy, and it had backfired spectacularly. The woman in the navy suit stepped forward, her tone measured but firm. Mr. Eastwood values integrity above all else. That's why this dealership is under his name now. And we're here to fix what's broken. That starts with ensuring the right leadership is in place. Alana's stomach dropped. Was this it? Had she blown her shot completely? I can do better, she blurted, her voice cracking slightly. I've made mistakes, but I can fix them. I can show you I'm capable of leading this team the right way. Clint studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched, making the air feel heavier with each passing second. Finally, he spoke. Everyone deserves a second chance, he said, his voice calm but firm. But make no mistake, this is your only one. Prove to me you understand what respect means, and maybe you'll stay in that chair a little longer. His words hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Respect wasn't just a word, it was a choice. One she'd have to make every single day from this moment on. The tension in the room began to ease, but Alana's nerves didn't. Clint's voice echoed in her mind as she walked back to her office, closing the door quietly behind her. She leaned against it for a moment, trying to steady herself. A second chance. It sounded almost hopeful, but it felt like a challenge. This wasn't just about her career anymore. It was about the livelihoods of the staff who depended on her leadership, about the trust Clint had just barely extended, and about proving to herself that she could be more than just a numbers-driven manager. For the rest of the day, Alana observed the dealership with fresh eyes. She watched her employees interact with customers and each other, and the truth was unavoidable. Clint had been right. The team was operating on eggshells, afraid to make mistakes. Conversations were curt, smiles were forced, and even sales felt cold and transactional, devoid of any real connection or trust. The weight of her own missteps hit her like a freight train. She hadn't built a team, she'd built a fragile house of cards, one gust away from collapse. That evening, long after the dealership had closed, Alana stayed late. This time, she wasn't crunching numbers or drafting quotas. Instead, she began creating a plan to turn things around, not for profit, but for people. By morning, she called an all-staff meeting. The employees shuffled in, their faces weary and uncertain. No one knew what to expect after the drama of the previous day. Alana stood before them, her usual sharp demeanor replaced with something softer. She cleared her throat, her heart pounding. "I owe all of you an apology," she began, her voice steady but carrying the weight of sincerity. "I've been running this place the wrong way. I've put too much pressure on all of you, and I've created an environment where fear runs the show. That's not leadership, and it's not fair to you or our customers." A few eyebrows raised. Some employees exchanged uncertain glances, but Alana pressed on. "I want to change that," she continued. "Starting today, we're focusing on what really matters: respect, for each other, and for the people who walk through our doors. This is a fresh start for all of us." For a moment, the room was silent. Then from the back, a slow clap broke the stillness. It was Derek, a junior sales associate. One by one, the rest of the team joined in, their applause tentative but genuine. Alana felt a spark of hope for the first time in weeks, but she knew rebuilding trust wouldn't happen overnight. It would take action, consistency, and proving, every day, that she meant every word. Over the next few weeks, Alana threw herself into the work of rebuilding. Her first move was simple but impactful. She abolished the unspoken rule that discouraged browsing without buying. "Let them look," she told the sales team in a morning meeting. "We're here to guide them, not pressure them. If someone wants to walk the lot for an hour, we let them. If they leave without buying, that's okay. The goal is to make them feel welcome enough to come back." It was a small change, but the effect was immediate. Customers lingered longer, conversations felt more genuine, and the team began to relax. Alana didn't stop there. She sat down with each employee individually, asking about their experiences, challenges, and ideas for improvement. At first, the meetings were met with skepticism. Some employees spoke cautiously, as if waiting for a trap. But Alana listened, really listened. Slowly, the walls started to come down. One afternoon, Derek approached her after closing a sale. "I just wanted to say thanks," he said awkwardly. "Things feel different around here." "Better," Alana smiled. "That's the idea, Derek. Keep up the good work." But the true test came one sunny Thursday afternoon, when Clint Eastwood returned, unannounced. Much like his first visit, he strolled through the lot, observing everything. Alana spotted him immediately. Her heart skipped a beat, but she didn't rush to him this time. She let him walk, let him see for himself. When Clint finally approached the showroom, he gave her a slight nod. Clint's eyes scanned the lot behind him. "Not bad," he said simply. It wasn't much, but coming from Clint Eastwood, it was practically a standing ovation. But Clint wasn't here just to observe. He had one last surprise up his sleeve, a test to see if Alana had truly learned what it meant to lead. As Clint stepped into the showroom, the usual hum of activity quieted. Employees glanced his way, their expressions a mix of awe and curiosity. Alana approached him with a composed demeanor, though her heart raced. She'd been working tirelessly to turn the dealership around, but Clint's approval still felt like the ultimate benchmark. "Mr. Eastwood," she greeted warmly, extending her hand. "It's good to see you again." Clint shook her hand with a firm grip, his gaze steady. "Likewise, I've been hearing good things, but I like to see for myself." "I think you'll notice some changes since your last visit," she replied confidently. Clint didn't respond immediately. Instead, he motioned toward the lot. "Walk with me." They stepped outside, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the neatly arranged rows of cars. As they walked, Clint asked pointed questions about the changes Alana had implemented. She explained her new approach to customer interactions, her efforts to empower the sales team, and her focus on creating a welcoming environment. Clint listened intently, his face betraying little. When they reached the far end of the lot, he paused near a sleek black sedan. "Sounds like you've made some progress," he said. "But leadership isn't just about fixing problems. It's about seeing opportunities others might miss." Alana furrowed her brow, unsure where he was going. Clint gestured toward the entrance, where a young father stood nervously with a toddler tugging at his hand. The man looked hesitant, as if debating whether to approach. "Let's see how you handle this," Clint said, his tone light but his eyes sharp. Alana hesitated for only a moment before heading toward the man. She noticed the way he clutched his car keys nervously, the toddler trying to climb onto a nearby bench. "Hi there," she greeted him with a warm smile. "Can I help you find something?" The man looked surprised but relaxed slightly at her friendly tone. I was just looking. Not sure if I'm ready to buy yet." "No problem at all," Alana said. "Take your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help." The man glanced at the toddler, who was now precariously balanced on the bench. "Honestly, I'm looking for something reliable but affordable. My old car gave out, and it's been tough getting around with her." Alana nodded, her expression empathetic. "I understand. Let's take a look at a few options that might work for you. No pressure, just let me know what you think." As they talked, Alana noticed Clint watching from a distance, his expression unreadable. She guided the man through a few models, offering practical advice without pushing for a sale. By the end of their conversation, the man smiled. "Thanks for your help," he said. "I'll think about it and come back soon." "I'll be here," Alana replied sincerely. As the man walked away, Clint approached her. "That's what I wanted to see," he said. "You didn't just sell him a car, you earned his trust. That's the kind of leadership this place needs." Alana felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It wasn't just Clint's approval, it was the realization that she finally understood what it meant to lead with respect and humanity. But Clint wasn't done yet. His next words left her speechless. "You've come a long way," Clint said, leaning against one of the cars. "But this isn't just about you. A leader's legacy is the impact they leave behind. This dealership will thrive if you keep showing people they matter. That includes your team." Alana nodded, her voice steady. "I understand. I won't take this second chance for granted." Clint gave her a rare, approving smile. "Good, because I believe people can change, if they're willing to do the work." He glanced toward the entrance, where the young father and his toddler had exited moments ago. "It's not about being perfect, it's about being real." With that, Clint straightened up, brushed some invisible dust off his jacket and added, "Now I've got other places to be. But I'll be watching. Don't let me down, Alana." And then, he was gone, leaving her standing in the warm light of the evening. She watched him walk away, feeling a strange mix of pride and humility. Clint Eastwood had given her a second chance, not just to save the dealership, but to reshape herself as a leader and a person. Inside, the team was abuzz. Word had spread quickly about her interaction with Clint and the lesson he'd imparted. For the first time in weeks, the tension had lifted, replaced by cautious optimism. The following morning, Alana called another meeting. Standing before her employees, she spoke with newfound clarity. "I know this place has been through a lot," she began, "and I know I haven't made things easy. But I'm committed to making this dealership a place we're all proud to be part of. Together, we can turn this into something great, something that reflects the respect we show each other and our customers."